this is Chuck Bryant coming to you from the Chuck Bryant Show. On the radio with me this morning and on the phone with us here in the WOTG studios is Mrs. Heather Van Buren. And she has got a new album out. It's called Moving On. And how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. What about you, Chuck?
Well, it's morning out here. I checked outside. It's 19 degrees outside, and it's a little cold out here.
Oh man, it's cold here too, and I'm ready for spring.
I'm gonna tell you right now. If I find Mr. Jack Frost, I have to have a little chit chat with his mama, because this definitely ain't working out. I checked the temperatures this morning. We was at work, and I said something. I said, I wonder how cold it is. And they go, well, you're going to be in Florida next week, and we're going to be down there for Firefest 2020. So I checked the temperatures all the way down to Miami. It was in the 30s. And I'm going, yeah. And I said, well, let me check Key West. Key West is like 54 degrees. So that's like 80 miles from Miami. And I said, yep, you see, who's got the best weather? Oh, it's always the Keys. So, what's on the horizon? What you going to be doing in the next, with this new album out? We got 3 songs that we're going to be doing. What's up for you for the rest of this year coming up?
Well, I am already getting quite a few bookings for 2020. I can't believe that we're already into the end of January. That just blows me away. I've got the GMAA conference this weekend, and then I've got a bunch of different cowboy churches that I'm going to, and it's going to be a busy year. The ICGMA in July, and I'm really hoping to get this album out into the hands of the people. I think it's hitting the download site this week, and I'm excited. We'll just wait and see what God's going to do.
Awesome. Well, I know here in just a little bit, all of everything is going to be kicking up for us, because we start our conference next week with Firefest down in Florida. We were talking with Rick Rohr last night from Blood Vault about things in Ohio. And we got things going over in Branson. I mean, it's just, we're all over the place this year. So we're going to be in Texas a little bit, and I'll let you know when we're in the area where we can hook up.
Yes, and I'll interview you on my What Love Means show. I would love to do that. Get your testimony.
Somebody interview me? Wow, that's special right there. I don't care what you say. So Heather, we're going to get into this, and one of the first songs that we were talking about, Footsteps. Tell me a little bit about that.
Your Footsteps, yeah. My brother and I wrote that song, and I lost my mother in 2009 and my dad 2 years later in 2011. And we were getting the house ready to sell, and one evening, it was in the summer, we were sitting out on the back porch, and he was strumming his guitar and playing some really pretty chords. And I just asked him, what are you playing? And he says, oh, just some chords I like. And I just started singing, and this song came in 30 minutes. And it had to have been God-inspired, because it really wasn't about me. It's the storyline of a young woman that's just kind of questioning her worth and her place in the world, and whether God is real. And by the end of the song, she realizes that it's not a dream, that He is real, and that He does have His hand on her life. It's a message for somebody, and it's turned into kind of a rock-type song with a little bit of country flair, believe it or not.
So what are you saying? This is going to sound like a little bit like Donny Osmond and Marie Osmond. I'm a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll.
I don't know. I'll let you be the judge of that.
All right, let's go ahead and listen to Your Footsteps.
Warm summer breeze, wind in my hair. What's in this world for me? Why am I here? Calling your name. Are you still there? What am I looking for? Is it a dream? A dream. Left foot, right foot, one in front of the other. Trusting you for each step I take. Backward, forward, I know I can trust you. You believe in me no matter the choice I make. I wanna be the one who follows in your footsteps. I need to give my life to you to lead each day. So help me stay up on the straight and the narrow. Please keep me on the path I know for me you've made. You've made. Left hand, right hand, use my arms of compassion to show the love you put within my heart. Sometimes I fail to be the girl you've made me. I try to, but each day I need a new start. I wanna be the one who follows in your footsteps. I need to give my life to you to lead each day. So help me stay up on the straight and the narrow. Please keep me on the path I know for me you've made. Oh, you've made. Warm summer breeze, wind in my hair. I know you've called my name. It's not a dream, a dream.
That's an awesome song.
Thank
It-
you so much.
It's got a the beat reminds me of like what we were talking earlier. It's got like a late 70s, early 80s type beat because of the way pop music was back in the day, where it was just changing over a little bit. But it's really got a great beat to it. Really good song.
Well, you know, that's kind of my background. I was a young hippie, and I loved rock and roll when I was a preteen, and so I guess it was just a little bit of a carryover from my past. But it turned out to be a song that glorified the Lord, and that's what's important.
Well, you know, there's in a lot of the music that a lot of us that gives inspiration to us. You know that we always go back to whether it be country, rock and roll, jazz, or whatever it may be. But we always have a background that we always go to, and it's with me. I love music. I'm from New Orleans, so I love jazz, and I can sit and just turn jazz on. And my wife says that she's the only person I know that slap on a pair of headphones, listen to jazz, and I get carried away, and it's just like, leave me alone. Just let me do it.
I'm with you on that. I like all different types of genre. My parents were very, very musically inclined, and they had a very, very wide range of music taste, and so I was exposed to big band stuff, jazz, Chet Atkins, country music, some of the old stuff like Tea for Two. Do you remember that old song?
Yes, I do.
Tea for Two. Yeah,
you know what?
all kinds of stuff.
You know what's so funny is you mentioned that. When I was a child, the Everly Brothers had a song out. And it was the song, I've never heard it played on radio, but Mom and Dad had a 45. And one night I'm going, they're playing albums on there, and I come to get my baby out of jail. And that song had to be done, I don't know, in the late 50s, early 60s. I always loved that song.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah. Well, it was on the flip side of another popular song back in the day, but it was on a 45. I like that song. That's what they did back then. They would put a hit song on the front and then kind of a sleeper on the back. Right. Well, it's like W.C. McCall. I remember listening to him. He did Convoy on the flip side of the other one. It's a Long Lonesome Road. And Long Lonesome Road became a hit by itself because of Jerry Reed had mentioned it on a show one time, and there are two songs off of his same album. But tell me, I'm on my way. Tell me about this song.
Well, that was written by a songwriter up in West Virginia. His name is Mark Proctor. He is a terrific guy, great songwriter. And he had been sending me some of his songs for the past couple of years. And I was tucking away the ones that I liked. But when I got this one, I knew I was getting close to putting my Moving On album together. And this song is so fun. And I loved it. And we kind of took it into the studio and put a different spin on it. We had a party chorus put into the song, and of course you can't have a party chorus without a party, right?
Amen.
So we had a big party in the studio. I called a bunch of my friends in, and we had munchies and all kinds of snacks and drinks, and set everything up and had the best time ever recording this song. And so the album is it's not really the title track, but the title Moving On was kind of inspired by this song, and it's a good one, and it's fun. Everybody's going to like it just because it's just a happy song, and we're all on our way. If we know Jesus as our Savior, we are on our way to heaven, and we're all taking different paths, but it's a good path because we know where we're going to end up.
Amen. Well, I'm on my way. Alarm going off. All right, we're on our way. Here we go.
I admit I got to struggle sometimes to smile when I'm walking through the fiery trials. But what keeps me going on my darkest day is knowing that I'm on my way. When I'm feeling down, when I get the blues, gather round, let me tell you, here's what I do. I lift my voice to my Lord in praise, and I thank Him that I'm on my way. I'm on my way to heaven. I'm on my way to my new home. I'm on my way to see Jesus. I ain't there yet, but baby, you can bet I'm on my way. When the devil tries to get the best of me, he gets me down and then I fall on my knees. And when pray. I just tell him that I'm on my way. When the sun stops shining and the sky turns gray, I get a little weary on this narrow way. I think about the cross and the price he paid. I thank you, Jesus, that I'm on my way. I'm on my way to heaven. I'm on my way to my new home. I'm on my way to see Jesus. I ain't there yet, but baby, you can bet I'm on my way. On my way to heaven, I'm on my way to my new home. I'm on my way to see Jesus. I ain't there yet, baby, you can bet I'm on my way. I'm on my way to heaven. I'm on my way to my new home. I'm on my way to see Jesus. I ain't there yet, but baby, you can bet I'm on my way. Come on, I'm on my way to heaven. I'm on my way to my new home. I'm on my way to see Jesus. I ain't there yet, but baby, you can bet I'm on my way. I'm on my way to heaven. I'm on my way to my new home. I'm on my way to see Jesus. I ain't there yet, but baby, you can bet I'm on my way. I'm on my way to heaven. I'm on my way to my new home. I'm on my way to see Jesus.
Wow. Sound like you had a little group in there for a little bit. I probably heard 5 or 6 people in there.
Yeah, oh, there was a lot, more than that. There were probably 22, 24 people in the studio. We had so much fun.
Oh, wow. How many musicians does it usually take to do an album like what you do?
Well, I mean, you can do an album with just your 5 basic musicians, but I had the luxury of having Milo Deren. He's currently touring worldwide with the Eagles on their last tour. He is so good. He can play 7 stringed instruments. And so all of the stringed instruments in there, except for the bass and the acoustic and electric, is Milo. So, was he a bass, electric, acoustic, drums? Got Milo doing everything else. That's 5. I think we had, I don't know what else all we had in there. I can't remember. But it was great. At least 5 or 6 that we had. But we would have had to have had a whole lot more if Milo hadn't have been as talented as he is.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, the thing about it is I was talking to a guy that cut his own record. Here, listen to me. Well, we're going to get that record out today. But anyway.
Well, same thing with album, you know.
Yeah. We say album, and the thing about it is that actually they're coming back. I was over at Walmart during Christmas, and I was going through the albums, and I'm going, wow, they're coming back.
They are.
And
They're back, and the artist can have them printed on vinyl now, but it's expensive, though.
Oh, yeah. Buying them is expensive. I've got a record. We have a record player here because I'll go through I'll go to the thrift stores and go back through some of the old vinyl records. I love that popping and cracking that it has.
Oh, yeah.
But I was talking to my friend that he does he does an offbeat of like rock and roll and some country. And I was talking to him, and I said, "Well, how do you hire all these musicians?" And he says, "Well, Chuck," he says, "I know how to play just about every instrument there is." I'm like, "Wow." And he says, "What I'll do is I'll lay down the track for the drums, and I'll lay down the track for the guitar, the electric guitar, the bass. If I want to add a trumpet in there, I throw a trumpet in there or a saxophone." And he says, "I can mix all this by myself."
Good grief.
And then I turn around and I'll sing it, and he puts it all together. And he's got his own studio. He lives down in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I like to go to his studio one day and just see it. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I play keyboard, and I have since I was 7 years old, or piano, I guess. But when I'm in the studio, I just don't want to mess with that. I just want to focus on what I'm called to do. And if there is any piano or keyboard that's needed, we usually just have somebody do that. And because usually there's not a whole lot. And
I haven't picked up an instrument since I was in a sophomore in high school. I started off playing the trumpet and moved to Louisiana from a place up in Ohio. And we moved to Louisiana, back to Louisiana, several times down that way. And I got into high school and learned how to play the trombone, and I played a little bit of the drums. I was real terrible on the drums, but I knew how to play the trombone because it's the same kind of, the only thing different in the trombone and the trumpet is you got 3 keys and you got a slide. And so I was playing the trombone, and we had 16 to 18 trumpet players, and we had about 12 to 13 trombone players. And the band director says, "You know what? You're taller than just about everybody down here." And I was 6'1", and so freshman in high school. And so I got to carry the American flag during the football games and the Mardi Gras parades. And so that was my claim to fame. Carry the flag during Mardi Gras. Well, we got one more song here, Heather, and I know that you're busy. I know you're busy this morning because you probably got a lunching or something that you may have to go to. So let's go ahead and get this done. This next song is "My God Made That." Tell us about that song.
Yeah. I co-wrote that song with a friend of mine. He's a songwriter in Alabama. His name is Mike Owens. I don't know if you know him or not, but
I've heard him.
I met him a couple years ago at the ICGMA in West Plains, Missouri, and we really hit it off. And we started pitching this song back and forth to each other, and he originally wrote the majority of it, but it was an unfinished song, and I loved it. And you were talking about liking jazz. I think you'll like this one because it's got a little bit of that influence in it.
Well, jazz, a lot of people don't realize, and this is the thing that I tell people. I said, if you don't really realize the heartbeat of the music that comes out, Elvis Presley was very influenced with Memphis and the beat that came out from that era. And it really influenced him while he was in church. Chuck Berry was another one. And Fats Domino. A lot of those people that can't forget Little Richard and Percy Sledge. But these people influenced a lot of the music that we listen to today.
Yes, and we don't realize it. Music comes from all different directions, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. And I think that when people tell me, "Oh, you don't need to be listening to that," I don't listen to the heavy stuff anymore. But I still like to listen to a little bit of rock and roll. I love to listen to old country because there's nothing like sitting back, got your headphones on, and listening to some Loretta Lynn, Tammy Wynette, and of course, one of the greatest ladies that ever sung country music was Patsy Cline. And you just and it don't matter how old the music is, you still pick up on it. And if you go back to Rita, Miss Franklin, you know, her influence in music, and go back a little bit further to the jazz that was singing during the 20s and the 30s. Oh my gosh! I mean, you could just name stars after stars that influenced going all the way back then. And a lot of it still played today.
Absolutely, and don't you wonder what the music sounded like back when David was writing the Psalms?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what it sounded like, what kind of influence, musical influence. Of course, there was the harp, but that's something I guess we're going to get to hear when we get to heaven. It's a genre we don't know about yet.
I'm telling you. Just thinking about it, there they have the horns, and then they have the harp, and I'm sure Elvis. By the time Elvis got up there, he says, "Well, hold on, hang on just a minute, because we got to get the blue suede shoes out here, you know." And so you got, and I was talking to Richard Kaiser one time, and Richard was telling me how Chet Atkins influenced him. And I said, well, one of my favorites was Jerry Reed. And he goes, oh, man. He said, I love to listen to Jerry play the guitar. And Richard is great in himself. Have you ever met Richard Kaiser?
No, I don't believe I have.
He is I think he's probably one in gospel music, probably one of the best instrumentalists in playing instruments with the guitar and stuff, because when he goes to set up, he's been out there with Charlie McCoy and Dusty Alderman. They did a tour here back down in Florida a couple years ago that I was there, and just listening to those three on the stage, and then Floyd Kramer's grandson was there with him. Jason was there, and it was like, man, it was like you just had to be there, and it was totally awesome. They did a little thing down in Sun City Center down in Florida, which is down past Tampa. And we were down there doing a concert back in 2006. And I mean, I've listened to Richard and Charlie McCoy play several times, but just listening to the harmonica and Richard get on the guitar, and then Jason playing the piano, and then Dusty come in with his voice. It's just like there's nothing more there. So let's go.
But that was a fun time.
Oh man, it was on. And then the thing about it is Richard introduced me at that time. Richard introduced me to one of the greatest male voices that come out of the 50s going into the 60s, which is Jim Reeves, guitar player. And to me, in my walk in Southern gospel, Christian country, the people that I have met that have influenced me, I got to spend one time with, man, my mind just went blank, Hensons. I got to sit down with one of the Hensons for about...
Ronnie Henson?
Ronnie Henson, yeah. That's who it was. My mind went, duh. But anyway, Ronnie sat down with me and told me how he did the Lighthouse, and you know, I've got to meet a lot of great people. Another influence that I really liked was Gunnar Carr, and I know you know Gunnar.
Oh, Gunnar was one of my best friends. I miss him so much.
I got to spend about 35 minutes on the phone with him back in 2018, and we were talking about his music. He was sending me some of his music over. And when I found out, I sent Barbara a text saying, you know, how sorry I was. Gunnar was awesome.
Yeah.
And there was no one better than that you could listen to the instrument that he played. And these are, it's kind of like the old song that George Jones sung way back, Who's Gonna Fill Their Shoes?
Oh, yeah. Good song.
And this song right here reminds me so much of that right there.
Well, thank you.
Let's go ahead and get it listened to, and My God made that.
Don't you love the trees, the birds and bees, and hearing a rooster crow? Or had you rather walk on the seashore and get sand between your toes? Have you seen a crimson sunset? Have you watched an eagle fly? And do you get a thrill when a whippoorwill sings you to sleep at night? My God made that. Everything that lives and breathes, He made the land, the heavens and the deep blue seas. You can search the earth and the universe, starting right where you're at. If you can hear it, see it, taste it, feel it, my God made that. Do you like to stand in the summer rain and feel its kiss on your face? Have you watched at night as the bright moonlight dances on the lake? Have you ever seen a shooting star or heard the thunder roll? Or walked into the kitchen smelling fried chicken cooking on the stove? My God made that. Everything that lives and breathes, He made the land, the heavens and the deep blue seas. You can search the earth and the universe, starting right where you're at. If you can hear it, see it, taste it, feel it, my God made that. When you look at everything around you, you begin to realize it's not a random act, but a matter of fact, and it comes as no surprise. Well, it's a lot of fun to watch the ponies run and to smell the fresh cut hay. And does it make you grin when your dearest friend hugs you and makes your day? Have you ever sat on an old creek bank as the water rushed across your feet? And when a baby smiles, do you stop a while and thank the good Lord for all of these things? My God made that. Everything that lives and breathes, He made the land, the heavens and the deep blue seas. You can search the earth and the universe, starting right where you're at. If you can hear it, see it, taste it, feel it, my God made that. If you can hear it, see it, taste it, feel it, my God made that.
I heard a little bit of a southern drawl in there on that. Must be
can't
that.
help that.
That must be a South Texan thing right there. Well, you know that in me growing up, a lot of people, we spent time in Texas. And my brother was born in Paris, Texas, over next to the Panhandle. And
Pretty country.
oh yeah, and I got to when I was over in Oklahoma back in 2016 and 17. I went through Paris, Texas, down going through just Freeport, coming back from McAllister, and one of the things that I never did get to go back to was a place called Borger, Texas. And
Borger?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I was 7 years old, and when we lived out there, and Daddy worked for a company in Texas called Technical Metals, and now it's the General builds those prefab buildings that go everywhere. And Daddy used to work for a company from he got that job from Brown and Root. And Daddy worked at that company for a long time, and they took him down to Texas to look at, down in Borger, to overhaul the company. And then they took him, after he did that, they took him up to Oklahoma. And that was the last really big job Daddy had in 75. And the job just got to him. And so he retired at a very early age of 35 because of his nerves were shot and everything else from that job, because it was so demanding. And we lived down in Borger for a while, and I remember going to Houston, and I was down in Houston a couple of years ago when I was coming back from, we was out down with some friends up in Kansas, and I really like Texas, but it's a big state. And I don't care.
It's very big. Paris is 4 hours from me. Houston is 5 hours south from me, and El Paso's like, oh goodness, 12 hours or more from me. It's just a big, big state.
How many miles is it across and downward, going down towards Mexico?
2 days.
Really? Wow.
No, I really don't know.
I've heard.
In Texas we don't really talk about miles. We talk about hours when we're driving.
Well, I have heard that. I've talked with some of my buddies that drive trucks, like Roy Anderson and some others. And I've asked them, I said, how long does it take to get across Texas? He says, take a ride with me and you'll see. And I'm like, the thing I would love to do is go from Louisiana over to Texas, over to New Mexico, and going over to Nevada, because I've watched so many videos and everything else about how beautiful New Mexico is and how beautiful Nevada is, but you just don't want to get called out there. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, I took about a 2-week tour with my parents. 1 year, they decided they wanted to do that, and we went kind of that route.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Spring, which is just north of Houston, and so we started there and went up through the panhandle of Texas, and then we went and saw Pikes Peak and other places in Colorado, and then we went to, New Mexico and Colorado, and we went up into Wyoming, and oh man, it's just so pretty up there. Every state is so totally different.
Oh yeah, I was talking to Marty on Saturday, and Marty said, I got something to show you. And he flips the camera around, and we see all the snow everywhere around there. And I'm going, man, I'm glad I live in Georgia where we ain't got no snow. And then get off work this morning, it's 19 degrees.
Yeah, that'll teach you.
I'll tell you, teach me. Well, Heather, I'm so glad that you stopped by to have a little time to where we can talk about songs and just great times.
Well, I appreciate you, Chet. I always enjoy spending time with you, and like I said, we're going to get together one of these days, face to face, and I'll get to interview you for your testimony, and we'll get to sit down to dinner or something.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully Donna will be with us too at that time.
Absolutely, yeah, we're counting on that.
All right, hang on just one second. Hey, you've been listening to the Chuck Bryant Show with Heather Thomas Van Buren here, and she has a show on WOTG TV, and that show's called, what's the name of the show, Heather?
What Love Means.
And it is here, and it'll be broadcasting twice a month here on the WOTG network on a Saturday morning around 11 o'clock. And be looking forward to it. And we've been broadcasting some. You can go over on our YouTube channel, and some of the shows are there. And it's just great. Some of the people that she's interviewed, some of the testimonies that have come across, some of the people you may know, some of the people you may not. But I'm going to tell you right now, each and every one of the testimonies is worth a listen to. So take a listen to them. Whether you hear it on the WOTG radio network or you hear it on another radio station, she has them. They're just about out there to a lot of the radio stations that I know and the people I know. So take a listen.
Well, Heather, again, thank you so much for being a part of our show today. And we're looking forward to seeing you at one of these big gatherings and stuff like that. Hang on just 1 minute. You've been listening to the Chuck Bryant Show on the WOTG Radio Network.